Hello Varlets. It's been a long time since my last upload, and with good reason. Apart from work and life happening, this video took a long time to assemble because it kept growing and growing into something bigger than the last iteration. I'll explain more about it as we go. In this third installment of my State of the Game series, we are going to be looking at the blessings in Darktide. We'll unpack what I think goes into constructing a blessing, where our current blessings stand in game, and a handful of ideas and suggestions I might offer. So, let's get it on. Blessings in Darktide serve as part of the power growth of our character's arsenal, acting as the means by which we can customize our weapons to fit a situation or a playstyle we want to experience. It is a core component that lets us develop our character's power fantasy. At least, that's what I believe blessings should accomplish. So, to this end, let's take a look at what goes into making one. There are two parts that goes into making a blessing in Darktide. An activation cost, that's the condition that you need to meet, fulfill or pay to get the blessing to activate. And a blessing benefit, which is the buff, debuffs or bonuses that you receive and deal after meeting the activation condition. So, given these parameters, for a blessing to be considered balanced, the blessing benefit should be worth the activation costs. Sounds reasonable, yes? But wait, there is more to it. You see, not all blessing benefits are equal. Something that adds damage to your attacks is probably going to be rated differently than the blessing that adds sprint speed in terms of value. This means that for a blessing to be balanced, the lower value benefit like sprint speed is either going to need to have a disproportionately lower activation cost or a higher benefit relative to a damage blessing. This also brings us to the next point about blessing benefits, the underlying principles of our blessing designs. Because we know blessing benefits are not equal, we can, in my opinion, split them up into 4 different categories. Blessings that lean into a weapon's strength, blessings that compensate for a weakness, blessings that offer a new aspect or dimension of play, and blessings that offer utility, support, or quality of life improvements. It goes without saying that one weapon's blessing strength might be another weapon's weakness compensator. Take improved ammo efficiency as a benefit, for instance. To a Kantrael Lasgun, which already has really good ammo efficiency, getting even more ammo efficiency certainly improves its sustained damage per magazine and leans further into its strength, which is its damage output. But to an Accatran Lasgun, which struggles with having enough ammo to remain relevant in extended periods of combat, improved ammo efficiency makes up for this weakness, allowing the weapon to have more uptime throughout your engagements and letting you get more out of the weapon. Same benefit, different category. But there's one more thing about blessings themselves that need to be mentioned, and they are balancing variables. Balancing variables are tied to a blessing's activation cost and or the blessing benefit. It comes in the form of frequency, how long or how probable this blessing benefit is going to be activated in the mission, duration, given the activation cost, how long is this benefit going to last, cumulative benefits. The blessing benefit is active upfront but starts off weak and eventually reaches its full potential with frequency or duration. So these are things like Blaze Away, Slaughterer, Hit Taker. Diminishing benefits, the blessing benefit is active upfront but declines with use, or the activation cost comes after the benefit ends. To my knowledge, there's only one blessing that's like this, and that is Limb Splitter. And finally, delayed gratification. Blessing benefit only occurs after a more significant upfront activation cost. But in return, this allows for the potential for tactical deployment of the benefit. We don't have any blessings that have this right now, but we do have feats that have it, which is the Ogrin's Knock 'em Down, Beat 'em Up. All blessings must have at least one balancing variable other than the blessing benefit itself in order to have an avenue for effective balance changes to take place. This is the balance variable check. So, with these pieces in place, we can now browse through all of our current blessings and see what a balanced blessing should look like. Now, I'm sure that balance is going to be subjective, but to me, blessings like Shred, Wrath, Headhunter are, in my opinion, pretty balanced blessings as far as activation costs and benefits goes. On the other hand, there are blessings like Slaughterer, Pinning Fire, and Brutal Momentum, where the blessing benefit is disproportionately more impactful relative to its activation costs. I would consider these blessings to be unbalanced. In the presence of these blessings, the more balanced ones will almost always be pushed out of the weapon's blessing pool. This winds up creating a forced meta where there isn't really any other choice, because why would you take something else when these blessings are clearly superior? There's actually more that goes into this problem, but I'll cover that in a bit. Fortunately, balancing these bunch of blessings is just a matter of tweaking the numbers on it, either messing with the activation costs, the benefit itself, or the balancing variables relevant to it. Take Slaughterer for example. You could reduce the maximum power cap from 75% to 40%, but increase the duration the buff is active from 3.5 seconds to 5 seconds. This change doesn't touch the activation costs, but tweaks the benefit itself and the balancing variable of the duration. With this change, Slaughterer still offers a meaningful, powerful damage boost of 40% power that is very easy to activate and has a better uptime. This makes it more reliable for weapons like the Thunderhammer to benefit from the momentary power boost, making it easier to get a good Thunderclap or two off. Of course, these number tweaks are just examples on how you can balance a blessing once you understand all the underlying elements that go into making them, and hopefully also shows you why having a balancing variable check is important. However, there is one blessing that violates the balance variable check rule: Power Cycler. As a blessing, Power Cycler practically bypasses the balancing variable check, has no activation costs, and offers more of the same benefits without changing anything about how you'd use the weapon. As a result, it practically makes Power Cycler a mandatory pick on Power Swords, and it's also incredibly difficult, if not outright impossible, to balance in its current state. Introducing this blessing as it is was a mistake, because now the community has grown attached to its power, and any changes will only invite flack and ire, something we've already observed once or twice. So, this is what we've got so far when it comes to the things that goes into constructing a blessing in Darktide. We have an activation cost. This is what it takes to activate the blessing. We have a blessing benefit, the bonus or the point of the blessing in the first place. We have a blessing principle, from which the blessing benefit is derived from. And we have balancing variable checks, which allows us to fine-tune and tweak a blessing without outright nerfing the benefit it gives. Now that we're all on the same page, let's look at the last thing that affects how we construct and balance blessings: context. In this case, context is everything outside of the blessing ingredients that influences how powerful a blessing should be and the kind of benefits it should have. Context can take the form of what weapon we are looking at, what are the weapon's strengths, its weaknesses, how does it feel to play, what kind of playstyles does it encourage naturally, and its identity within our arsenal. Context can also take the form of what are the other blessings a particular weapon can roll. This matters a lot because we can only ever have 2 blessings on a weapon at any given time, and so this limitation means that the value of any given blessing is also influenced by the relative value of other blessings available in the pool. This is where my talk of forced meta comes back into play. A forced meta usually happens when a weapon has a couple of dominant blessings, like the current Slaughterer and Brutal Momentum, and everything else in the pool does not offer anything close in value nor an alternative playstyle to the weapon. We end up defaulting on the dominant blessings partly because it's probably overtuned, but also because everything else is not meaningful or doesn't offer enough value. There's no conceivable reason to ever take anything else. While I'm sure most of you watching get the point, I still want to illustrate with how important context matters and how that can influence the blessings we have or will get. Let's use a hypothetical range weapon that has Headhunter as an anchor blessing, for example. I only have 1 blessing slot left, and I'm free to swap the blessing in and out for something else. Given the choice between Strip Down or Pinning Fire, for example, it's almost a no-brainer that Pinning Fire is always going to be the pick over Strip Down. In this situation, it's not just Pinning Fire that is overtuned, but Strip Down as a blessing itself brings so little to the table that there's no way it would ever get chosen over something that would bring more meaningful impact to my weapon's performance. And that's the point I want to arrive at. All blessings should, in one way or another, have a meaningful impact on our weapon's performance or how it feels. As long as it makes a noticeable, tangible difference to at least one of the 4 blessing principles stated earlier, a blessing can be relevant to our arsenal. It might not necessarily be everyone's favorite pick, but if it has a solid and distinct role to fulfill, then it has a reason to exist. This then leads to the question, why are so many of our current blessings in-game so meaningless? Barring the handful of unbalanced blessings, we realistically only have a relatively small pool of blessings worth choosing from. I would know, I do weapon reviews after all. Every time I look at a weapon's blessing pool, I shake my head in disappointment when there are only 2 or 3 blessing combos that are actually meaningfully viable in-game. Now, I don't know what the underlying design philosophy for blessings was when Fatshark decided to do them, but all I can say is that, as it stands, there is a lot of wasted effort that went into making blessings that no one would ever want to use, which is a shame really. I can imagine they had a tier list table of sorts and decided that there should be blessings for each tier that players could earn from. On paper, this sounds fair and balanced since not all blessings are going to give the same level of potency. Now, this might work in a game like Warframe, where its mod system allows you to gradually improve your weapon's modifications over time. This gives purpose to the weaker tier mods and allows you to replace them as you get stronger and stronger mods. But this idea doesn't quite work in Darktide. Because we only have 2 blessing slots, one of which is probably going to be locked, and even if it wasn't locked, you'd still want to always have the best blessing equipped. There's just no space or reason for weaker, less impactful blessings to exist. Having said that, I'm sure some of you are thinking, those weaker blessings are there just to bloat the blessing pool with rubbish, so we have to grind more. While I agree that this is an unwelcome effect of the current blessing design and system, I would like to ask an even better question. Why can't all blessings be interesting and have a meaningful impact in one way or another? Notice how I didn't say powerful. Not all blessings have to add tons of damage or power. Sometimes introducing or encouraging different or more diverse playstyles also makes a weapon worth using. I mean, the ultimate goal of playing games is to have fun, right? So why shouldn't our blessings be fun? Why shouldn't they be engaging? Looking at our existing pool of blessings, you might be inclined to think that many of them are just lazy, meaningless stat bumps that have barely any consequence to our performance. And you would be right. Coming up with blessings that are interesting, fun, or just downright enjoyable to use without making them overpowered is hard. Honestly, being a combat dev person is not easy. We've already seen what it takes to put a blessing together, how many variables you need to think about, all the spaghetti interactions between other blessings and class feats that will probably happen when you introduce something new or try to be adventurous. Not to mention breaking the game in unexpected ways with blessings as well. And so, given everything that needs to be taken into consideration, it must be extremely difficult to come up with blessings that will be fun to use, yet useful for every single weapon class in the game. And the reason I know is because I did just that. I came up with 131 unique blessings across all weapon classes currently in the game based on the principles I set out earlier. It wasn't easy and it took a long time because my ambition kept outgrowing my satisfaction. Initially, I wanted to make a simple table with just a few blessings for a handful of weapons just to illustrate how the principles in action could produce interesting and fun blessings. Then, I decided to be a little more ambitious and include at least one blessing for each weapon class. Then, that grew into making a set of blessings for each weapon class. And then I thought, wouldn't it be nice if my blessings looked like they were part of the game's London website? Wouldn't that be cool? So, I made an icon for each of the 131 blessings. And that is why this video took so long to put together. Now, before you jump ahead and browse through the weapons and blessings I've made, some disclaimers. Number 1. I am not a dev. I have next to no knowledge on how to code, so I don't know if what I have created can be implemented easily or realistically. What I have done is use what is already possible in-game as a guide to how I build my blessings, but added a little more complexity and layers to it to add variety in how we engage with them. Number 2. Because these ideas and suggestions are not in-game, I repeat, are not in-game, there is no way to check for balance. This means that the numerical benefits of the blessings like 100% crit chance or 80% weak spot damage and whatnot should not be taken seriously by any means. They are just thoughts on how fun or how powerful a blessing might be without consideration for wider balancing. Instead, focus on the idea of the blessing rather than the numbers. See what playstyles or combos it can inspire you with. See how much more interest it brings to a weapon. The balancing variables are there for a reason if any of these ever make it into game. Also, some weapons really need balancing in of themselves, like the infantry autoguns and the various faster firing weapon marks. Blessings can't fix a flawed weapon that is having an identity crisis, but this will be for another video in the future. Number 3. Remember that these are blessings, meaning your weapon can only ever have 2 of them. Because we are used to thinking of weapons with blessings attached like brutal momentum on the combat axis, you might forget that if you want something I've suggested here on your weapon, you're going to have to give something up in return. It's all too easy to think of these blessings in the context of your weapon already having 2 meta blessings equipped and then say whatever I propose is OP. Keep that in mind. You're gonna have to give something up. Number 4. Despite how long this took me to put together, I had a lot of fun making them. Learning about Warhammer 40k lore and how weapons worked in the universe and learning about the themes I assigned to various weapons was an interesting process. While the hope for this video is to inspire some change to make Darktide a more fun game, I don't expect Fatshark to take this video seriously by any means, because I don't work for them. That being said, if something here acts as a catalyst or the seed of creation for something better, then this video has done its job. I'm also aware that maybe some blessings might be a little more laxed when it comes to how strictly I followed the principles laid out earlier. I decided to let it go and let you guys be the judge of that. Just one last thing. If you have understood the limitations of my blessing suggestions and want to make a comment or a feedback about it, please include the word Zanzibar somewhere in your comment. It's a random word I just thought of, but it lets me know that I can take your comment seriously, since you aren't one of those people who don't even bother watching the video and then make comments without knowing the full context of my suggestions. I think that's all the disclaimers I want to make before I sign off. The remainder of the video will be all the weapons and its set of blessings. Each weapon will have 10 seconds of screen time. Feel free to pause and read them. You can find all of the weapons timestamped in the description as well. Naturally, some weapons will share blessings across weapon classes, so don't be surprised if not every weapon has an entirely unique set of blessings. I look forward to reading the comments on this video, so tell me your thoughts about our current blessings, how can we make it better, and what do you think of the blessings I've suggested here? Which are your favorite blessings? Personally, I had the most fun making the blessings for the Revolver and the Surge Staff. With that, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Varlets.